It always starts the same way. A notification, a harmless sound, a simple vibration in your pocket, a name lighting up your screen. And in that moment, you never think twice. Because why would you? It's just Snapchat. Just a picture. Just a message. Just another ordinary night. But sometimes, that one notification is all it takes. The first time it happened, I didn't even notice. It was late summer, the kind of night where the air feels heavy, like something is waiting, but you can't quite tell what. My room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of my phone screen as I lay on my bed, scrolling mindlessly through stories. I had just turned 16, old enough to feel independent, but still young enough to believe nothing bad could really happen to me. That night I got a snap from someone named ***, Lena Speech Balloon, ***. I didn't recognize the name. At first, I assumed it was just one of those random ads people get all the time. Maybe a friend of a friend. Maybe someone from school using a different username. It happens. So I opened it. The image was simple. A ceiling fan, spinning slowly. No caption, no face, no context, just a ceiling. I frowned slightly, staring at it for a second longer than I should have. Probably sent to the wrong person, I muttered under my breath. I didn't reply. I just closed the app and moved on. But then, 10 seconds later, another notification. Same username. Another snap. This time, I opened it more carefully. The same ceiling fan. Same angle. But something felt off. The lighting was slightly different. Darker. And this time, there was a caption. "You're awake." I froze. It wasn't threatening. Not exactly. But it wasn't normal either. I quickly checked the time. 11:47 p.m. Yeah, I was awake. But how would they know that? I brushed it off. Coincidence, I told myself. People say weird things online all the time. So I typed back, "Do I know you?" The message was delivered. Seen almost instantly. But no reply came. Instead, another snap. My thumb hesitated for just a second before opening it. This time, it wasn't a ceiling. It was a window. Closed. Curtains slightly parted. Darkness outside. My stomach tightened. Something about it made me uneasy. Not because it was scary, but because it felt familiar. Too familiar. I looked up from my phone. Slowly, my eyes drifting toward the window across my room. The curtains parted just slightly, exactly like in the picture. A strange, uncomfortable silence filled the room. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring. I swallowed hard and looked back at my phone. "No," I whispered. "There's no way." I stood up, my movement slow, cautious. Each step toward the window felt heavier than the last. My heart began to beat louder, faster, as if it already knew something I didn't. When I reached the curtain, I paused, my hand hovering just inches away. For a moment, I considered walking away, pretending it was nothing, because as long as I didn't look, it couldn't be real. Right, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. And fear makes you want answers. So I pulled the curtain aside. Quickly, the street outside was empty, silent, still, no one there, no movement, nothing. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "See," I laughed nervously, "you're just being paranoid." I closed the curtain again and stepped back. But as I turned, My phone buzzed. Again. Another snap. My chest tightened instantly. Slowly, I picked it up. Opened it. And this time, everything changed. It was a picture of my house, taken from across the street, perfectly framed. My room window visible. The exact same window I had just checked. My hands went cold. There was no caption this time. No message. Just the image. But somehow, that was worse. Because now there was no denying it. Whoever this was, they weren't guessing. They weren't joking. They were asterisk outside. Watching. I rushed back to the window, throwing the curtain open again. But once again, nothing. The street was empty. Like no one had ever been there. My breathing became uneven. Shallow. My mind racing through every possible explanation. Maybe it was an old photo. Maybe someone nearby. Maybe another buzz. Another snap. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct in my body screamed not to. But I did anyway. And the moment I saw it, I felt something inside me drop. It was darker now. Closer. The angle slightly shifted. And in the bottom corner of the image, barely visible, was a figure standing near the edge of the frame, watching the house, watching my house. My fingers trembled as I typed. "Who are you?" Seen. Immediately. This time, a reply came. Not a snap. A message. Just 2 words. Turn around. My entire body went still. Every muscle locked. My brain struggled to process what I had just read. Turn around. Slowly, very slowly, I lowered the phone. And for a brief moment, I considered not doing it. Because deep down, I already knew. If I turned around, something would be there. Something I wouldn't be able to unsee. But fear doesn't always stop you. Sometimes, it forces you forward. And before I could stop myself, I turned. Nothing. Just my room. Dark. Quiet. Exactly how I left it. Relief flooded through me, so fast it almost made me dizzy. Okay, this is some sick prank, I muttered. I grabbed my phone again, typing angrily. This isn't funny, I'm calling the police. Seen. No reply. For a moment, everything went quiet. No notifications. No snaps. No messages. Just silence. I waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Nothing. Eventually, exhaustion took over. My body drained from the adrenaline. I locked my door, checked the window again, and finally, I went to bed. I don't know how long I was asleep. It couldn't have been more than a couple of hours. But something woke me up. Not a sound, not a dream, just a feeling. That strange, heavy feeling that something isn't right. My eyes opened slowly. The room was darker now, colder, and that's when I noticed it. The curtain, it was moving, just slightly, as if something had brushed against it. A chill ran down my spine. I sat up, every instinct screaming at me to run, to scream, to do something, but I couldn't move, because right behind the curtain, I could see it, a shadow, perfectly still, standing just outside the window, watching, waiting, and then my phone lit up. One last notification from Lena Speech Balloon. I didn't want to open it, but I already knew what I was going to see. The screen stayed lit in my hand. That one notification, burning into my eyes like it meant something more than just a message. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was anticipation. Because deep down, I already knew whatever was outside that window was the same thing behind that username. Slowly, my thumb moved, and I opened the snap. It was dark, almost completely black. For a second, I thought maybe it hadn't loaded properly. But then my eyes adjusted, and I saw it. My room. From outside. The angle was wrong, too close, too precise. Whoever took it was standing right at my window, the curtain slightly open. And inside, I could see myself, sitting on my bed, holding my phone, frozen, watching the same image. A picture of me, looking at a picture of me. My stomach dropped so violently, it felt like I was going to be sick. This wasn't just someone outside. This wasn't random. This was calculated, controlled, deliberate. My heart started pounding so hard it hurt. Every second stretched longer than it should. The shadow behind the curtain hadn't moved. Not even slightly. It was still there. Still watching. Still waiting. And then, another message appeared. Not a snap this time. A chat. You look better when you're scared. Something inside me snapped. Fear turned into something sharper. Something desperate. I jumped out of bed and ran for the door, nearly slipping as I grabbed the handle and yanked it open. "Dad," I shouted, my voice cracking. "Dad, wake up." The hallway felt too long. Too quiet. Every step echoed louder than it should have. I banged on my parents' door until it swung open. "What's wrong?" my dad asked, half asleep but instantly alert when he saw my face. "There's someone outside my window." No hesitation. No questions. He grabbed the baseball bat he kept beside the bed and rushed past me. I followed behind him, my legs shaky, my chest tight. We reached my room. The curtain was still. Completely still. My dad walked up slowly, then pulled it open in one sharp motion. Nothing. The yard was empty. No shadow. No movement. No one there. Again. Just like before. But this time, it didn't feel like relief. It felt like something worse. Like we were already too late. "Are you sure?" my dad asked, scanning the yard. "Yes," I said immediately. "I saw someone, they were right there." I showed him the snap. The photo of my room. The one taken from outside. His expression changed instantly. Sleep vanished from his eyes. "That's not funny," he muttered. "It's not a joke," I said quickly. "They've been sending me snaps all night." Another buzz. We both looked at my phone. Another message. From Lena. I hesitated, but my dad nodded. "Open it." I did. This time, it wasn't a picture. It was a video. Short. Only a few seconds. But enough. The camera moved slowly, shaking slightly, like it was being held by hand. It pointed at my house, zooming in, closer, closer, until it reached my window. And then, it stopped, and the camera tilted slightly, just enough to reveal something. Standing beside it, a person, their face barely visible in the darkness. But one thing stood out clearly, a wide, unnatural smile. My dad immediately grabbed his phone. "I'm calling the police." The next 20 minutes felt like hours. Every sound outside made me flinch. Every passing car felt like it meant something. I stayed in the living room while my dad checked every door and window twice. Locked. Secured. Still, it didn't feel safe. Because whoever this was, they already knew the house. They already knew my room. They already knew me. When the police arrived, I explained everything. The snaps, the messages, the photos. The officer listened carefully, nodding slowly. "Do you know this person?" he asked. "No." "Did you add them?" "They added me first." He exchanged a look with his partner. That look, the kind adults give each other when they don't want to say something out loud. "We'll check the area," he said, "but for now, keep everything locked and don't respond to any more messages." Easy for him to say. He wasn't the one being watched. They searched the street, knocked on a few doors, checked nearby houses. Nothing. No one saw anything. No one heard anything. No cameras caught anything. It was like the person had never existed. But my phone told a different story. Because as soon as the police left, another message came in. "They won't find me." I didn't reply. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too much. Another message. "You shouldn't have called them." My dad took the phone from me this time. He typed, "Stop contacting my son. The police are involved." Seen. No reply. For a moment, it felt like maybe that was it. Maybe they were gone. Maybe it was over. But then, my phone buzzed again. One final snap. I didn't want to open it. Neither did my dad. But we had to, because ignoring it didn't make it disappear. Slowly, he opened it, and the moment the image appeared, everything changed again. It wasn't outside anymore. It wasn't the street. It wasn't even my house. It was inside. A photo of our hallway, taken from the far end, facing the living room, the exact spot where we were standing. Right now, my dad's grip on the phone tightened. "That's not possible," he whispered. But it was, because at the very bottom of the image, just barely visible in the frame, was us, standing there, looking at the phone. A sound broke the silence. Soft, almost unnoticeable, but unmistakable. A floorboard creaking from somewhere inside the house. My heart stopped. My dad slowly lowered the phone, his eyes scanning the hallway in the image, then lifting to the real hallway in front of us. They matched perfectly, except for one thing. In the photo, there was a door slightly open at the end. In reality, that same door was closed. We stared at it, neither of us moving, neither of us breathing. Because now, there was only one question left. If that photo was taken seconds ago, then who opened that door? My dad moved first. Slow, careful, each step deliberate. The bat raised slightly in his hands. I stayed behind him, barely able to breathe. The hallway felt tighter now, smaller, like the walls were closing in. He reached the door, paused, then pushed it open. Empty. Nothing inside. Just darkness, stillness, silence. We both exhaled at the same time, but it didn't feel like relief, because something wasn't right. Something still felt off. And then I noticed it. The window inside that room, wide open, curtains moving gently in the night air. My stomach dropped, because that window had been locked earlier, and sitting on the floor, right beneath it, was something small, something black, something familiar. My phone buzzed again, but this time, it wasn't in my hand. It was coming from inside the room. On the floor, right next to the window, was another phone, the screen lighting up, a new notification appearing. From Lena Speech Balloon. For a moment, neither of us moved. Not me, not my dad, not even the air in the room seemed to shift. All we could hear was that faint vibration. Again, and again, and again, coming from the phone on the floor. It didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense. Because the account, Lena Speech that was messaging me, was now, right here, inside our house. My dad stepped forward first. Slow, careful, every movement calculated like he was approaching something dangerous, something alive. He lowered the bat slightly and bent down, picking up the phone from the floor. The screen lit up in his hand, and we both saw it. A new snap. Sent to me from that phone, which meant one thing. Whoever had been sending those messages had just been here seconds ago, maybe less. Stay behind me, my dad said quietly. His voice had changed. No longer calm, no longer controlled. Now there was something else in it. Fear. He started moving through the house, room by room, checking everything. Closets, bathrooms, behind doors, under tables. Every shadow suddenly felt like it could be hiding something. But there was nothing. No one. Just the quiet echo of our footsteps. Gone. Whoever it was had already escaped. But they hadn't left empty-handed. Because when my dad unlocked the phone, everything got worse. There were no contacts, no saved names, no apps except one, Snapchat. And when he opened it, my heart dropped. The account, Lena Speech it wasn't just random. It wasn't new. It was full of saved snaps, saved chats, saved videos of me, not just from tonight, not just from outside, but from days ago, weeks ago, maybe longer. Photos of me walking home from school, sitting in the park, talking to friends, even one of me, standing outside a convenience store, looking straight at my phone, completely unaware. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. How I whispered. But there was no answer. Because some questions don't have answers. At least, not ones you want to hear. Call the police again, my dad said, his voice tense. They were inside. This time, the officers took it seriously. Really seriously. They searched the entire property. The backyard. The alley. Even the neighboring houses. But just like before, nothing. No footprints. No witnesses. No signs of forced entry. It was like the person had vanished into thin air. But the evidence was right there. In our hands. The phone was taken for investigation. They told us they'd track it, trace it, find something, anything. But deep down, I already knew. This wasn't over. That night I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. Every sound felt amplified. Every shadow felt alive. I stayed in my parents' room, sitting on the floor staring at nothing, trying to make sense of something that refused to make sense. By morning, everything felt unreal, like maybe it had all been some kind of nightmare, something my brain had created, something I could wake up from. But then, my dad got a call. The phone. They had traced it. It wasn't far, less than a mile away. An abandoned house, one that had been empty for years. The police went there immediately, and what they found was something I wish I could forget. Inside the house, there were signs someone had been living there recently. Food wrappers, blankets, bottles, and in one of the rooms, they found something else. Photos, printed, dozens of them, all of me, different angles, different days, different places, some taken from far away, some way too close. But the worst part was the wall, because covering that wall, from top to bottom, was a collection of photos, arranged carefully, organized, almost like a timeline of me, from the first picture to the most recent one, from outside my school to outside my house to my window. And right in the center was something new, a photo taken just hours ago. Me, standing in my living room, holding my phone, looking terrified. The same photo we had seen on Snapchat, but now it was printed, pinned to the wall, like it mattered, like it meant something. The police said they were close. They said they'd find him, that whoever this was, they couldn't stay hidden forever. But days passed, then weeks, and nothing happened. No updates, no arrests, no answers, just silence. Eventually, life started to feel normal again, at least on the surface. I went back to school, back to routine, back to pretending everything was fine. But something had changed, because now I noticed things I never noticed before. A car that passed by too slowly, a stranger standing too long in one place, a shadow that didn't feel right. And then, one night, it happened again. My phone buzzed. I froze instantly, my heart racing before I even looked. Because deep down, I already knew. Slowly, I picked it up. A notification. From Snapchat. Not from Lena. From a new username. Seen you again. My fingers went cold. I didn't want to open it. Didn't want to see. Didn't want to know. But I did. And the moment I saw the image, everything inside me shattered again. It was a picture, taken from inside a car, parked across the street. And in the frame, clear as day, was me, standing at my bedroom window, looking out, watching. The caption read, "Miss me." For a few seconds, I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I couldn't even breathe properly. That one message, "Miss me," it wasn't just words. It was proof. Proof that everything the police had said, everything I had tried to believe, was wrong. He wasn't gone. He had never left. My fingers tightened around the phone as my eyes stayed locked on the image. The angle, the distance, the position of the car. I knew that spot. Everyone in the neighborhood did. There was a broken streetlight right there, one that had never been fixed. It left that part of the street in permanent darkness. A perfect place to sit unnoticed. A perfect place to watch. And now I knew. That's exactly what he had been doing. Watching. Waiting. I stepped back from the window immediately, pulling the curtain shut so hard the rod rattled. My heart was pounding again, louder than ever. Not the same fear as before. This one was heavier. More real. Because now, this wasn't a stranger anymore. This was someone who had been in my house. "Dad," I shouted again, my voice already shaking. Footsteps rushed down the hallway. "What happened?" I handed him the phone without a word. He looked at the image, then at me, and I saw it again. That same expression from before. The one he tried to hide, but couldn't. "We're calling them again," he said immediately. This time, the police response was faster, more urgent. 2 cars, then 3. Lights flashing silently across the street as officers moved carefully toward the exact spot from the photo. But just like before, they found nothing. No car, no person, no trace. It was like he was always one step ahead. "How is that even possible?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. No one answered, because no one knew. But I started to realize something. Something worse than not knowing who he was. He knew how we reacted. Every time we called the police, he disappeared. Every time we felt safe, he came back. That wasn't luck. That was control. And then, something changed. For 2 days, nothing happened. No snaps. No messages. No signs. At first, it felt like relief. Like maybe finally, it was over. But that feeling didn't last long. Because silence like that doesn't mean safety. It means planning. On the 3rd night, I made a mistake. I went back to my room. My parents told me to stay with them. Told me not to sleep alone. But I couldn't take it anymore. The constant fear. The feeling of being watched every second. I needed normal, even if it was fake. So I locked my door, checked the window twice, closed the curtains completely, and lay down in my bed. For a while, nothing happened. Minutes passed, then an hour. My breathing slowed. My body relaxed. And slowly, I drifted to sleep. I don't know what time it was when I woke up, but something felt wrong immediately. The air felt colder. Too cold. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, but it didn't help. Because the cold wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from behind me. My eyes opened slowly, carefully, and that's when I heard it. Breathing. Not mine. Slow. Heavy. Right behind me. Every part of my body went stiff. My mind screamed at me to move. To run. To do something. But I couldn't. Because I already knew. If I turned around, he would be there. Right next to me. The breathing got closer. Louder. And then, a whisper. So close it felt like it touched my ear. "You should have stayed with them." My heart exploded into motion. Adrenaline taking over everything. I rolled off the bed instantly, hitting the floor hard as I scrambled backward. "Dad," I screamed. The door burst open seconds later. My dad rushed in. Lights on. Bat in hand. "Where is he?" I pointed at the bed, shaking, barely able to speak. But when he looked, There was no one there. Just the empty bed. The blanket slightly indented, like someone had just been sitting there. The window, wide open, cold air rushing in, curtains moving violently now. My dad ran to the window, looking outside. Nothing. Again, nothing. But this time, there was something else. Something new. Something sitting on my bed, right where I had been lying. My phone, but I didn't remember bringing it with me. Slowly, my dad picked it up. The screen was already on. Snapchat open. A message typed out. Not sent yet, but written. Ready. It said, "He's awake." And underneath, a blinking cursor, as if someone had just been typing. Seconds ago, right before we came in, my dad looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something I had never seen before. Not fear, not confusion, but realization. Because now, this wasn't just someone watching from outside. This wasn't just someone sending messages. This was someone who could get in anytime they wanted, anywhere, and we had no idea how. That night, we didn't sleep, and neither did he, because just before sunrise, another message appeared. From "Seen you again." Just one line. "Next time I won't leave." There are threats, and then there are promises. That message, "Next time I won't leave," it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like something already decided, something inevitable. After that night, everything changed. My parents didn't argue anymore, didn't question anything, didn't try to convince themselves it was just some prank or coincidence. We left, not just the house, the entire neighborhood. Within 2 days, we were gone, staying at a relative's place across the city. No announcements, no explanations, no forwarding address. The police advised it. Distance helps, they said. Break the pattern. But deep down, I knew something they didn't. Distance doesn't matter when someone already knows you. For the first few days, there was nothing. No messages, no snaps, no strange cars, no shadows, just silence. And for the first time in weeks, I started to breathe again. Maybe it was over. Maybe leaving worked. Maybe. My phone buzzed. The sound hit me like a shock. My heart jumped into my throat instantly. Slowly, I picked it up. Unknown number. Not Snapchat. Not an app. Just a message. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. And when I did, my stomach dropped all over again. It was an image. A front door. Not my old house. This house, the one we had just moved into. The angle was unmistakable. Taken from across the street. Same distance. Same framing. Same feeling. My hand started shaking violently. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." Another message came in. "You really thought that would work?" I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. My entire body felt like it was shutting down. "How?" I whispered. But this time, I already knew the answer. Because it wasn't about the house. It was never about the house. It was about me. That realization hit harder than anything else. We moved again. This time farther. Different city. Different schools. Different everything. New numbers. New accounts, new routines. My parents tried to rebuild normal life, tried to pretend like we had escaped something, like it was over. But I didn't believe it, because some things don't end. They just wait. Months passed, then a year. No messages, no signs, nothing. And slowly, life started to feel real again. I made new friends, focused on school, stopped checking every window, stopped jumping at every sound. Eventually, I convinced myself it was over, until the night everything came back. It was simple, ordinary, normal. I was sitting in my room, scrolling through my phone, just like before. And then, a notification appeared. Snapchat, a friend request, from a username I had never seen. No Bitmoji, no score, no mutual friends. Just one name, Lena Speech Balloon. My blood ran cold instantly. No, I whispered. It couldn't be. I hadn't used that account in over a year. I had deleted everything, changed everything. So how? My thumb hovered over the screen, every instinct telling me not to accept it, not to open it, not to engage. But fear has a strange way of pulling you closer. So I tapped, accepted, and immediately, a snap came through. No delay, no hesitation, like they had been waiting, watching. I opened it, and the moment I saw the image, everything inside me collapsed. It wasn't outside. It wasn't the street. It wasn't even recent. It was old. A photo from inside my old house. My bedroom, taken from the corner of the room, facing the bed, the same angle. As the night, I heard the breathing. But this time, something was different. Because in the image, I wasn't alone. Standing in the corner of the room, barely visible in the darkness, was a figure, watching me sleep. The caption read, "I told you I never left." My hands dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a loud crack. But I didn't care, because in that moment, I understood something worse than fear. This wasn't about breaking in. This wasn't about watching from outside. This was something else, something patient, something calculated, something that didn't need to rush, because it already had time. And then, my phone buzzed again, still lying on the floor, screen cracked, but glowing. Another message, just one line, "Turn around." My entire body went numb. Slowly, very slowly, I lifted my head, because this time, I didn't need to wonder. I didn't need to guess, because deep down, I already knew. He wasn't outside anymore. He never was. And as I turned, the story finally made sense. Not the messages, not the snaps, not the photos, but the silence. Because the scariest part was never being watched. It was realizing you were never alone to begin with.